What is nuclear energy? Nuclear energy is energy that is obtained by a process called nuclear fission. What is nuclear fission, you might ask? Well, let's say we have an atom, uranium-235, and here is its nucleus. And let's say we also have a neutron. The neutron bombards into the uranium. This will make uranium-236 briefly. Soon after, the uranium breaks down and becomes three products. One product will be smaller atoms. Another product will be more neutrons. And finally, the last product is energy. Let's focus on the neutrons first. It is highly unlikely that there is only one atom of uranium. Instead, a block of uranium is usually tested upon. The neutrons from the product will eventually hit other uranium atoms. This will create more products, especially more neutrons. And more neutrons, well, you get the idea. Due to the chain reaction before, we will get a lot of nuclear energy. One use for this energy is storing into a nuclear bomb. And in return, we get a nuclear explosion. However, there is another use for this kind of energy. We can store this energy in a controlled manner into nuclear reactors. And in return, we get electrical energy to power cities. But what if something goes wrong to the nuclear reactors? Well, this happens.
Already unstable, but now teetering on what looks like a meltdown. After the quake and the tsunami, a blast at the Daiichi nuclear power plant in Fukushima. Its sheer power plain to see. Reports that the roof of one of the reactors had caved in offered a worrying sign that the containment building may have been breached. This picture was taken directly after the explosion. It shows 4 reactors. The one on the furthest left, circled in yellow, no longer has its outer structure. Several workers were reportedly injured in the blast. Engineers at the plant about 240 kilometers north of the Japanese capital Tokyo have been furiously trying to cool the reactor to reduce pressure in its metallic core. In normal conditions, the core of the reactor is kept cool by pushing water or coolant through to the top of the reactor as it produces power. During an emergency, control rods are inserted into the core to stop electricity production. The core remains very hot, but the water or coolant keeps it under control. But the earthquake wasn't the end of it. The ensuing tsunami destroyed the electrical grid and diesel generators that would normally keep the water moving. Batteries are then the last resort to run the pumps, and they only have a lifespan of 8 hours. Once the batteries fail, one option is to relieve the pressure inside the boiling reactor by a controlled release of steam. The ultimate task will be to prevent the further leakage of radioactive material. But as the evacuation radius in Fukushima keeps extending, there are fears that it may already be too late.
Finally, the last product from nuclear fission is the smaller atoms, which is also called nuclear waste. Nuclear waste is highly unstable atoms that decays into smaller atoms until they are finally stable. Through the decaying process, we also get extra protons, neutrons, electrons, and energy. The smaller atoms are considered useless, and the smaller particles get released at random times. This is extremely dangerous, as these particles are small enough to penetrate human skin and alter cells in many ways. Some effects from this include hair loss, cancer, and human body malfunctions.